This is America in Space, a weekly news and information program on current events dealing with the space industry.
Welcome, and thanks for joining me today. I'm Dawn Meyer, Space Coast News Editor.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
The legendary Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura on the TV show Star Trek in the 60s, passed away recently. Most people know Nichols only as Lieutenant Uhura, but in 1975, NASA chose her to lead an astronaut campaign in which Nichols targeted women and minorities to expand NASA's core from the traditionally white male group. That campaign changed the face of NASA. In December of 2021, NASA celebrated Nichols' contribution to the space program when she retired from her decades of space advocacy. Honoring her were people who were inspired by Miss Nichols to join the space program, including Tracy Drain, a NASA flight systems engineer, Jennifer Ross Nazal, a historian at the Johnson Space Center, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, NASA's first female launch director, Dr. Adriana Ocampo-Urrea, a planetary geologist, and the SpaceX Crew 1 astronauts Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi.
I first learned about Star Trek through my mom. She and her 3 sisters used to rush home to watch the original Star Trek because of Nichelle Nichols. They really enjoyed seeing someone who looked like themselves portraying a character on TV like that. I loved everything about science fiction shows, the whole idea of exploring space, so that's why I decided to become an engineer, and it was my aspiration to ultimately work for NASA.
Hi, I'm Nichelle Nichols, but I still feel a little bit like Lieutenant Uhura on the Starship Enterprise.
In 1977, NASA hired Nichelle Nichols to help recruit space shuttle astronauts. She actually gave a speech that year for the National Space Institute on the humanizing of space. She asked, "Where are my people?" who she was referring to, women and minorities. NASA, of course, heard about the speech and invited her to NASA headquarters. Jim Fletcher was then the NASA administrator, and he asked Nichelle Nichols if she would be interested in serving as a spokesperson or an ambassador for NASA and help them recruit the first class of space shuttle astronauts.
This is your NASA. Space agency embarked on a mission to improve the quality of life on planet Earth right now.
Not only did she portray a technical character in a time period where you didn't see a lot of women or people of color in technical roles on television, she symbolized to so many what was possible.
What I love about Nichelle Nichols is how she embraced the role and how she portrayed us and gave us that roadmap for the future generation of women to follow.
We definitely need more characters like Uhura today. There's still just something special about seeing people who look like yourself portraying the kinds of things that you might one day be able to do in the world. Especially for kids, you just embed in their minds, even in an unconscious way, this idea that they really do have a whole world of options out there. Because if they're told something but they don't see it, it doesn't really sink in as being real.
This is Mike Hopkins with Crew 1, and we just wanted to say how much you inspired us as we were growing up. You taught us how to dream.
Thanks for your wonderful work. Seeing your continued drive and enthusiasm to inspire young kids today, that still is inspiring me.
Your legacy led to our legacy here, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for making a difference for all of us.
Live long and prosper.
Nichelle's recruitment efforts were the subject of a documentary, Woman in Motion, Nichelle Nichols, Star Trek, and the Remaking of NASA. Here's the trailer for that film explaining the impact that Nichols had on NASA.
What is a change in society? A change is you cannot even imagine a world any other way.
For most of the world, Nichelle Nichols is Lieutenant Uhura, pop culture icon. But what they don't know is that she changed the space program forever.
The astronaut corps was really kind of the old boys club. It was all white Anglo-Saxon male.
Oh, I dreamed of becoming an astronaut, but NASA said that women weren't being considered for the job.
The argument was made that there were no qualified black people.
When is America going to put a woman in space? When is America going to put a black person in space?
We could have done it if they would just let us.
I resented that and decided I was going to do something about it.
And she's saying,
where are my people?
That was the spark that caused NASA to say, how do we go about this?
I challenged everyone to answer the question. And NASA said, how about Lieutenant Uhura?
Ms. Nichols has gone from science fiction to science fact.
I will bring you so many qualified people. The world will never be the same again.
This is your NASA.
She went into it to be an actress. She ended up changing the world.
I think it's one of the most fantastic stories to be told to the American people.
The world got to see that our women are strong, yes, but they're also smart.
We owe a great debt of gratitude to Nichelle Nichols.
All I can do is think of Nichelle Nichols as a force of nature.
I said, if they let me in the door, I will open it so wide they will see the world.
Upon Nichelle's passing, NASA posted on their Facebook page, "We celebrate the life of Nichelle Nichols, Star Trek actor, trailblazer, and role model, who symbolized to so many what was possible. She partnered with us to recruit some of the first women and minority astronauts and inspired generations to reach for the stars." CBS News told about Nichols and how she challenged NASA to include more women and minorities, and also how her appearance on Star Trek changed television and caught the attention of Dr. Martin Luther King.
The no-nonsense communications officer whose very presence communicated something powerful to viewers and fans alike.
She wasn't playing some stereotypical role. She wasn't a maid or a nanny or anything.
Among them, Benjamin Crump, the civil rights attorney best known for representing the families of Trayvon Martin and George Floyd.
She was the third highest-ranking member in a space command. I mean, you talk about every little black boy and girl running to the TV to say, hold on, that's a black woman and she's in charge?
Nichelle's story in particular is so monumental that I think deserves our attention, deserves our respect.
Nichols was actually planning to leave the show to pursue a career on Broadway. That is, until she met someone else very conscious of the impact she was having. It was civil rights icon, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., a devout Trekkie, who told Nichols Star Trek was the only TV show he'd watch with his children, and pleaded with her to stay aboard the Starship Enterprise.
He said, you don't understand the effect that you're having, not only on black people, not only on young women, but on everybody.
And stay she did. This growing fame would soon transport her from a fictional space program to the real thing.
2, 1. NASA was coming off the Apollo program. They were gearing up for this new exciting thing called the Space Shuttle program, and they needed a different class of astronauts. Instead of the traditional test pilot, you know, who would have thought that all the people working at NASA were huge Star Trek fans for obvious reasons. So NASA started showing up at the Star Trek conventions as well.
She gave a speech to NASA because of Lieutenant Uhura and the success of Star Trek. And when she looked out in the audience, she said she didn't see any women, she didn't see any minorities, and so she said,
where are my people? And I meant that then, and I mean it now.
But there was one person in that room who was really listening in.
Yeah, it was the head of NASA, and so they came and they met with her and they challenged her. They said, will you help us?
Reluctant at first, Nichols accepted the challenge, forming the company Women in Motion and embarking upon a year-long mission to change the face of NASA.
Hi, I'm Nichelle Nichols, but I still feel a little bit like Lieutenant Uhura on the Starship Enterprise.
She shot this recruitment film here at the Space Center, seeking astronauts for the shuttle program.
So that is why I'm speaking to the whole family of humankind, minorities and women alike. This is your NASA.
And she literally went to every major city around the country, every historically black college and university. And what she said, NASA needs you. History needs you.
And soon enough, Star Trek's fantasy prediction of a more diverse future took a step closer to reality. Thanks to Nichols, 8,000 people applied to NASA's 1978 astronaut class. In all, 35 new recruits were chosen, including for the first time 6 women and 4 people of color. Nicole Stott is a retired shuttle astronaut. She says Nichols brought an inspiring seriousness and credibility to the effort.
She didn't want to be this mascot for NASA. She wanted to be a strong, independent, powerful voice for this population that hadn't been represented by NASA yet, so that it would be believable. And I think that's what those women would say, is that it was believable, and they were encouraged to pick up the pen and fill out the application.
Now 88 years old, Nichols is out of the public eye. But in interviews for the documentary, she recalled that time when she was as determined as the character she played to help women and people of color cross a final frontier of opportunity.
Well, this might sound a little corny, but it felt like my children. And my heart, it pounded. And I knew the world will never be the same again. We would go on to great heights. And to think that I had the slightest thing to do with it makes me know that all things good are possible.
Shortly before her passing, Nichelle recorded this for the Planetary Society, telling how much space meant to her.
I fell in love with space the first moment I stepped foot onto the set of Gene Roddenberry's vision for Star Trek, playing Uhura. This is when I realized what humanity's future could look like. Exploring space represents a time when we had worked past our differences and divisions here on Earth and can look up to the stars. The Planetary Society understands that vision for a better future altogether. They're helping to bring us closer to that future. We'll live long and prosper.
I know that Nichelle Nichols inspired me to see so much more of what was really possible for the world. I enjoyed meeting her at several Star Trek conventions and at the Kennedy Space Center in the 1990s when she came to visit us. Thank you, Nichelle, for being an inspiration to so many around the world. From the Florida Space Coast, this is Dawn Meyer for About Space Today. Hailing frequencies closed.
Tank boost is go. PTC is go. LPS is go. Houston flight is go.
And stand by for About Space Today's live coverage of the Space Launch System and the Orion spacecraft to the Moon. Join us on Monday, August 29 at 8 a.m. for live coverage from the Kennedy Space Center on our YouTube channel, tinyurl.com/AboutSpaceTodayUT. That's tinyurl.com/AboutSpaceTodayUT. Join me, David Denault, and co-host Dawn Meyer, Space Coast News Editor, for America's Next Giant Leap, our first mission to the Moon since 1972. Artemis, the return to the moon to stay. Live coverage Monday, August the 29th at 8 a.m. And be sure to invite your family and friends to join us.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to share our program with your family and friends and follow us on Facebook. Join us each week for news and information on America in Space.